The question is why humans they cannot live as long as Adam, Methuselah, and some of these other persons before the flood. Now, today scientists are saying that a child that is born maybe will live indefinitely, and they're thinking that perhaps 200 and other numbers like that are feasible. But to live to 200 today, one is going to be on life support, living in some hospital in the ICU and they're feeding them intravenously, and they don't even know where they're at, and it's almost as if they're dead. But just maintaining it with this body with nutrition, etc. And why would one want to live so long when the enjoyment of life will be history? Well, it's simple. The genetics that Adam and Eve had is not the same that we have today. Remember that Adam's body was made to last forever. Had they not sinned and they had passed the test, they would have eaten of the tree of life and they would have been immortal. And I'm not sure if eating the tree continues the immortality or if it's just given and it's done. So today, because of the amalgamation of man with animals and the degeneration or the devolution from these giants of 250 plus feet tall to these little pygmies here of 6 feet and 8 feet and 7 feet, we have a different genetics. Now, to live long, you have to have serious, significant potential so that Adam's body, although early in his existence, he declined from eating of the tree to become immortal and by the sin act. Yet he was able to live to the 900 and something years. So that body, he was born with so much potential. And just as today, at 8 years, a child ready to have sex and have babies. In Adam's day, he of course was born a mature person. But generally, it seems as if it would have taken probably 200, 300 years before they were ready to really get into childbearing, etc. And it seems to me that the bigger the organisms or the body or the person, the slower um, their maturity is. Maybe pregnancy, maybe Eve had carried Cain and Abel and Seth longer than 9 months. I'm not sure how the sex works because it says that he had sex with her and she conceived. Now, I'm sure the angels explained to her about ovulation and when's the right time to have sex if you want to conceive, etc. But perhaps in her mind, she could have said, well, we can have a baby today. Or certain parts of her body manipulating could release her egg. And, I'm not sure, but their body was so different. So today, our genetics, the max that we could live to is probably 80 with a good quality of life. So from 8 to 1, we are. But with Adam, his max was probably even longer than 932. Okay? Um, and so as they start to mix themselves with animals who weren't created to live forever and had a shorter lifespan, then their lifespan started to drop between 900 and between whatever was the max of that animal that they had sex with. And so today, um, our max is 90, 80, 70. So we can't go beyond that. And if we were to go beyond that, it's just going to be a waste of time. It's going to be life support straight up. Now, why also Adam and Eve could have lived that long and so on? Now, they were vegetarians. God said that they should eat all the fruits. And I will tell you that rice wasn't as small as it is. Maybe one rice grain maybe was about 6 feet long and probably around maybe 36 inches, one rice grain. One mango would have weighed probably 100 pounds. So to see Adam sit down and eat, he wouldn't have had to eat a whole field of rice. He would have had about maybe 8 or 12 rice grains, maybe 3 mangoes. Um, um, if there were apples back then, an apple might have weighed another 100 pounds too. Because you remember when the children of Israel were going in to conquer Canaan, and they brought back some grapes. One bunch, two men had to fetch it with on a stick between themselves on their shoulders. That is how even at that time fruits were big. But of course, it's not only now that scientists are playing around with genetics. They were playing around with genetics earlier, but they had scientific instruments and so on. But they had ways of doing it. They know that if they mix this short tree with this tall one, it's going to be from short to tall. And if they keep doing the short or doing the short, eventually you're going to just have short. And if they were interested in doing just the tall, it would be tall. But the whole purpose was to with Satan was to miniaturize whatever. And then of course, if those trees were that big, tall, we so short we couldn't have reached it because Adam at 200 feet tall plus the fruit trees had to be tall so that he could pick whatever, right? Now, also because Adam was made a vegetarian, his body was different. Now look, animals that eat grass, they get proteins, they develop and they get big and strong. So we could, 400, 500 pounds, we get meat to buy in the store. Their bodies have whatever bacteria, whatever to deal with the cellulose or the cellulite or the cells. It could digest the complete plant. And so today we don't have that opportunity. We don't have that those substances or bacteria, whatever, in our bodies. So we can't digest um, the cellulose completely. And perhaps if we could have, it would have also helped us to have an extension of life. Plus, um, the soil has become sort of impoverished with overgrazing, over cultivating and so on. They don't rest the land every Sabbath and so forth, every seventh year, etc. And so again, we have these problems. Not only don't have the genes to go that long, but even the food, the plants don't have the nutrients that they would have had way back then, and we don't have the capacity, we don't have the cellulose to, sort of digest that. And so, because Adam say they were vegetarians, they had sex with organisms that were carnivorous, that were meat eaters. And so today we're right in the middle. We can digest cellulose as well as we can digest meat. Oh, let me see. I have some quotes here, but of course I don't even know where it's from because I got it here at Google. Um, but this part it says that true carnivores plus gulp down chunks of raw flesh, relying on their strong stomach acid to break it down and kill the dangerous bacteria in meat that would have otherwise sickened or killed them. Humans have much weaker stomach acids that are similar to those found in animals who digest pre-chewed fruits and vegetables. All right. I have a next one here. Let me find it. Talking about the vegetarian stuff. Where is it? Yeah. Um, it says here, unlike cows and other ruminants, humans simply do not have the enzymes in our bodies necessary to properly digest the fiber in vegetables. The enzymes needed to digest cellulose is called cellulase, and it is produced by intestinal bacteria. Cellulase enzymes break cellulose fibers down into blood sugar. See? So right now we are stuck in the middle. We can't digest plants. We can't digest fruit, meat. Now the command that is out there is to be vegetarians, and I understand that animals are diseased, also plants are diseased, and the type of fertilizer they put in them. So both are diseased, but plants or vegetarianism is the way to go. So how then would one want to be just a vegetarian as opposed to mixing it with meat and vegetables? Well, this is a religious matter. As long as God tells you to, hey, be a vegetarian, and you become a vegetarian, of course He's gonna create some way in which you